quarterback. Now, Nelson Mandela was also a fan of sports, but when Sonny Yang joins us now, Sonny Yang is a fan of Madiba also. But now let's go to our reporter who tells us a lot about the role that Nelson Mandela played in supporting sports and how sports inspired him. Henry Ridgewell.
A keen boxer in his youth, Nelson Mandela would later use sports to heal South Africa's racial wounds. In 1960, security forces shot dead 67 protesters in the black township of Sharpeville. In response, the International Olympic Committee banned South Africa from the Games. Another flashpoint came 4 years later when Basil d'Oliveira, a mixed-race South African cricketer, was selected by English club team the MCC to tour his homeland. Mixed-race teams were banned in South Africa. Then Prime Minister John Vorster strongly defended segregation and the tour was abandoned.
The team as constituted now is not the team of the MCC. It is the team of the anti-apartheid movement.
Anti-apartheid protesters targeted South African teams, like this rugby match in London in 1970. Several major sports federations boycotted South Africa. Speaking in 1995, Nelson Mandela described the power of the boycotts.
Against sports, you see, they were really paralyzed. There was nothing that they could do. And for them, to be regarded as the polecat of the world, and to be isolated from sports completely was one of the biggest blows against South Africa.
The end of apartheid prompted a rapid return to the international fold. Sports like cricket and rugby used to be seen as symbolic of white domination in South Africa, but Nelson Mandela turned that on its head and used sport to unite a nation. Dr. Ali Bakar was captain of the South African cricket team in 1969.
He was smart because he knew how important sport was to the people of this country. And ultimately, when Nelson Mandela was released from prison, it was unbelievable what happened in this country. The doors started to open.
On home turf in 1995, South Africa beat the favoured New Zealand All Blacks in the Rugby World Cup final. Nelson Mandela, by then president, presented the trophy wearing the South African Springbok jersey. Again, Dr. Ali Bakar.
And I was there, and the whole crowd were chanting, "Nelson, Nelson, Nelson." They loved him.
Rugby, once divisive, united the country. In the following years, the world's biggest sports stars, like former heavyweight boxing champion Muhammad Ali, met Nelson Mandela. He helped South Africa win the right to host the 2010 football.
At the Soccer City Stadium in Johannesburg. Being his last public appearance at the Soccer City Stadium in Johannesburg, I was thrilled to be one of more than 84,000 fans in attendance that evening. And what I remember, Vincent, was just about every fan got up out of their seat to cheer Mr. Mandela when he came into the stadium. Because of his frail health, he entered the stadium kind of in a golf cart type motor contraption. And the fans were just resounding in their applause for Mr. Mandela. Just a great moment.
I think it is remarkable and really will be memorable that he made his last public appearance in a sports event.
It seems so fitting, as Henry said, fitting and appropriate that the last time many sports fans saw him was at a soccer stadium.
But again, he didn't just like one type of sports. This is a man who spent 27 years in jail. He was known to be very, very active as a boxer, but he loved all sports.
He did. In fact, Henry also mentioned that 1995 Rugby World Cup final at Ellis Park in Johannesburg. One of the defining moments, I mean, it was such a dramatic moment, they even made a movie about it, Vincent, Invictus, directed by Clint Eastwood. But up until that point, the rugby team in South Africa, nicknamed the Springboks, very much viewed as kind of a holdover from the apartheid regime. I think the team was all white, in fact, and Mandela presented the trophy after they won the championship to Stephen Pienaar, the captain of the team. Just a great moment.
And some people were saying actually that he had been advised not to do that by some of his close associates, but actually he decided to do it wearing the jersey and presenting this trophy.
In fact, Pienaar, I think, was sort of, you might say, in cahoots with Mr. Mandela, that they realized that this could really help transform the country in terms of racial reconciliation. And Pienaar, he was one of the mourners and celebrants who went to Soccer City Stadium this week to bid an official farewell to Nelson Mandela.
Yes, and they say in his cell, in his prison cell, actually, they even managed to kind of sneak in some photos of some sports, greats like Muhammad Ali and others who had inspired him over the years in different sports, including that famous, I forget who the sports men were who raised their hand during an Olympic in protest.
That was during the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mandela was a huge sports fan.
Yeah.
We mentioned the soccer and the rugby, his boxing days.
Yeah.
I mean, he trained when he was at Robben Island, Vincent. I mean, boxing was really important to him.
Gave him the discipline. And also, he didn't just love sports, but he believed that sports was transformational. It could inspire, it could transform people. And some analysts say, actually, it's because he believed in sports. It's the only thing you can never do in the dark. You have to do it in the open, and therefore, inevitably, you have to have other people around there.
He met Muhammad Ali several times after he was released from prison. Ali, a hero in his own right, was so respectful to Mandela.
Yeah, that's great, including Pele. Well, thanks a lot, Sonny, and be sure to watch the Sunny Side of Sports every Monday and Friday right here on Africa 54.